The Ginetta Junior Championship season is about to come to a close. The final race of the weekend for these cars, the final race of a really busy season as well for the stars of the future, whether they had single-seater direction, sports cars or touring cars. We've had a great year of racing and fingers crossed 3 lively races are set to round out the weekend. Well, 2 of them have been very, very good, and so what can the third offer up? We have had a win yesterday for Hugo Schwarzer, this morning for Reza Siwurathan. And although the championship has already been claimed by 16 times a race winner Freddie Slater, he's of course not here because he's gone off to race in Formula 4 in preparation for next year. We still do have plenty of action on track, and earlier on in the day, second in the championship went the way of Hugo Schwarzer. He starts this race though 6th on the grid being based on the results of the earlier race today. The grid is complete and 20 minutes in prospect. And so in a moment, the pace car as it is will take them away. And then we will be in business, ready for the final race of the year. So the lights flash, 1 minute board shown, pole position Reza Siwurathan, and other drivers to keep an eye on will include Henry Jocelyn, who was going well this morning, Hugo Schwarzer 6th on the grid, Mikey Porter, who came here with a chance of being championship runner-up, but then had a bad race yesterday when he ended up in the gravel on the first lap, caused a red flag, wasn't able to take the restart. So been a disappointing weekend thus far for him in that respect, but he's hoping for better things, at least by way of a good result to round out the weekend. So there's the front row. Alisha Palmovsky yet to score a win, but may well be able to do that in this last race. It will be a very popular victory, well-deserved victory as well, as the cars now blast away, make that run down now towards the right-hander of Redgate. Alisha Palmovsky, who was the runner-up in the Winter Series last year. Hugo Schwarzer has had 2 race wins. Chase Fernandez, who's on the second row, has had 3. And Reza Siwurathan had a 4th victory of the season this morning. Pole position, Reza Siwurathan, 2nd on the grid, Alisha Palmovsky. That is how they line up at the front, ahead of Chase Fernandez and Mikey Porter. Row 3, Henry Jocelyn and Hugo Schwarzer, and then behind them, Luca Hopkinson and Tom Spragg. Row 5 of the grid is where you find Charlie Hart and Felix Lizzie, whose dad's also busy racing Ginettas here this weekend. Harry Moss comes next, ahead of Edu Robinson. The 7th row is Holly Mile and Jack Robinson, who went off the road yesterday. And you've got the cars of Alfie Davis and Bria Anglis. Tom Ingram Hill and Nick Ellis will round out the grid. So the field working its way up through McLean's Corner, heading now to Coppice, and then back towards the Grand Prix Loop. This part of Donington added on in 1985 when Formula 3000 first came here. The circuit had to be of a minimum length, and the only way to achieve that was to have the loop on, which was effectively around the back of the paddock. So Reza Siwurathan, starting on pole position, drove really well in the earlier race, carved his way through the traffic, and once he hit the front was able to make a break, pull away, and very strong indeed as the car now comes into the S's. And over the years, this has been a rather softened version of the S's. The motorbike-friendly low curbs mean that you can use those to your advantage, and now really it's one quick flick through the S. You can just about overtake if you're really, really brave, but it's not quite the heavy braking zone and a sharp left and right with high curbings as it used to be. Often was the case that saloon cars, if they whack the curb and get themselves launched, just ask John Morris, who had a very spectacular role in his Volkswagen Golf at one British Touring Car Championship meeting, or Gabriele Tarquini's 2-wheeling Alfa Romeo from a few years later. Out of the Melbourne hairpin, up the rise, then over the brow, drop down slightly towards Goddard's, and the road turns left, drops downhill and puts you back onto the pit straight. Donington, one of many venues where the start and finish lines are in slightly different places, so the cars now head towards the start line, whereas the finish, the timing line, is a little bit further back up the road. So to the grid they come, and despite another frantic weekend of Ginetta Junior racing, everybody present and correct, nobody with a amount of damage that's taken them out of the weekend, and so we are set to go racing for the last time this weekend, this last time this year for the Ginetta Junior Championship. The last few cars that are in place, the green flags shown at the back to say that everybody has returned. The 5-second board shown, then the lighting gantry awaits as the drivers will Wait for the reds. When the lights go out, we will be in business now. And who makes the best start? Alicia Palmowski in the yellow car gets away smartly. So also does Chase Fernandez, number 90, who is crowded onto the grass there by Reza Siwurathan, but he keeps on coming, gets back onto the road ahead of Mikey Porter. Alicia Palmowski covers off the inside line. The white car of Hugo Schwarzer goes all the way around on the outside then as they head onto the top of the Craner curve. Some are in the gravel already. Bodywork flies, but with enough momentum, you can dig yourself out the other side, and that there is exactly what was being done. So downhill for the first time they go. Palmowski is ahead, and then in second spot Reza Siwurathan with, on the inside, Chase Fernandez going back ahead of Hugo Schwarzer. Out wide goes Henry Jocelyn in the red-nosed car, and then the field accelerating up towards the completion of the first sector, heading up towards Schwarzer curve, and Reza Siwurathan through the gesticulation saying to Alicia Palmowski, let's go, 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 let's work together and get away, and that's seemingly what is happening as Schwarzer goes third on the inside of Fernandez. Mikey Porter on the inside then, Luca Hopkinson, number 48, the grey car, making his move up on the inside. Contact, Schwarzer gets lent on and he gets fired into the gravel. That was by Mikey Porter, who was on the inside line. Now Hugo Schwarzer trying to keep up the momentum and get through the gravel. He can't afford to lift off because then the car will dig itself in and he will come out the other side. So Mikey Porter finds himself third at the end of Starkey Straight, just ahead of Chase Fernandez. Right up behind them is Luca Hopkinson. Others bounce over the curb. Big slide from Tom Spragg there, number 16, as he rattles over the curbing. And as she did in race 2, Alicia Palmowski leads early on. Down towards the Melbourne hairpin they come. Big gap back to third already, where you've got number 19, which is the... Whoops, big drama at the hairpin. I was going to say Mikey Porter's car, but you've lost now Luca Hopkinson, Henry Jocelyn, Tom Spragg and others, all in the melee. Damage looked to number 31, but limps away. That is Felix Livesey in the MDD car. GT5 champion Scott McKenna having started this team, along with his brother. And it's not been a happy weekend, certainly in this respect, for Felix Livesey. He's gained places, but yet picked up damage. Over the line, Palmowski ahead from Reza Siwurathan. And then there's a gap back to Porter and Fernandez. This is Siwurathan's view, out of Redgate, bouncing over the curb. Looks almost unflustered from the outside, but you can see how much energy has to be put into these cars. And there, the walking wounded. Safety car deployed as Henry Jocelyn heads to the pit. Tom Spragg's the one that's been hit left, right, centre punched, you name it, a punctured tyre to boot. So the safety car is deployed. So Alicia Palmowski will slow the pack down. The cars now head towards Schwartz curve. Down the pit lane come the rather damaged cars. Henry Jocelyn, Luca Hopkinson. Who was the other one that got involved? 47 was involved also. That was the last one into the pile of Henry Moss. And if you want to build your own Ginetta, there are parts available down on the road at the hairpin. So how much tank tape does the team have is the next question, as the cars try to be put back together, at least in a state that the scrutineers are happy that they can rejoin the race. So there is the leading car of Alicia Palmowski. Down towards the S's she comes, ahead of Reza Siwurathan. Replay the start, cars blasting away. And on the inside line, number 90, Chase Fernandez being squeezed by Reza Siwurathan, but just edging his way back onto the road in third place. We've got the white car of Hugo Schwarzer on the outside because everybody else was on the in. So he found a big, big gap, but then ran out of road. Others go wide. Bodywork ripped from other cars. This is the start from pole sitter Reza Siwurathan. Out-dragged by Alicia Palmowski down towards Redgate. She moves across, takes the lead. Siwurathan almost into the back. The two Elite Motorsport teammates nose to tail onto the top of the Craners. Craner curves out of Hollywood, nose to tail, and then he got Larry up at Coppice. So Hugo Schwarzer was given, as he tried to turn across the front, a little bit of contact with Mikey Porter, who also got a bit of an assist, but that was enough to fire Schwarzer right the way through the gravel. By the end of the lap, though, he was trying to recover from 14th place, and then there was all of this down at the hairpin. Livesey, I think, was the one that turned around Hopkinson. Spragg got drilled, Jocelyn got drilled, others piled into the mess, and so that's why the road is having to be cleared, and we've got the safety car on track. So Alicia Palmowski then brings the field through. Her great-grandfather, Formula 1 stock car racer back from the late 50s to the 1970s, Marian Palmowski. So motorsport in her blood. Second place, Risa Siwurathan, like many, coming out of karting. And Mikey Porter, the British-American driver, running in third place. Chase Fernandez, it is in fourth. There is Hugo Schwarzer then, who is 14th. So having been the race winner yesterday, finding himself with a lot of work to do on the restart here. Others from the pit lane are rejoining, including Harry Moss. He's just got back on track. Bits of the damage taped up after he piled into that melee down at the Melbourne hairpin. So it's now the car of Tom Spragg that needs to be retrieved. Really disappointing way to end his season. Not even a lap completed before getting involved in the accident, and quite a lot of damage down to the car. Also, I think still in the pit lane, got Felix Livesey, who has come in at the end of the following lap with, of course, the front of his car dragging on the ground as well. So the MDD team having a look at that, trying to get him back out on track. So down they come with Alicia Palmowski ahead of Risa Siwurathan. Then it is Michael Porter in third place, Chase Fernandez fourth, Charlie Hart fifth, who's had a sort of up and down weekend, comes and goes in different stages of different races we've seen. And then sixth place, Edu Robinson. So all of this, of course, nibbles into 20 minutes, which is the race duration. Slippery surface flag, not necessarily to warn of liquid, but maybe any debris that's been left on the road. And so down into the Melbourne hairpin now comes the safety car. Lights are still on, suggesting at least one more lap. See the green markings on the road, the motorbike long lap loop, sort of penalty line for motorbike racing. And there, 47, now that is Harry Moss. He's only just left the pit lane, but one would suspect he might be due in again, because that tank tape is not holding, is it? It doesn't actually look as though it's stuck the front of the car to anything else, but it's very pretty. But Harry Moss, I rather fear, might have to come back in for fear that the front will part company altogether. So at least one more lap behind the safety car. A couple of the stragglers still trying to play catch up, namely Luca Hopkinson and Henry Jocelyn. Safety car comes over the line quite slowly, which I think is deliberate to try to let the others catch up before they are released. So one more lap. I think the road is now clear. Hugo Schwarzer, number 33, will be the one to watch on the restart, but it's a very, very leisurely pace as they come down towards Redgate then. These two are really not catching as yet. You can see how much tank tape has been used on Luca Hopkinson's car, whereas behind him, the car of Henry Jocelyn, they just rip the bodywork away. That solves the problem. Like someone's taking a great big bite out of the front of it, but Henry Jocelyn then making his way now on to the pit straight. More sweeping. Shards of Ginetta being swept to the inside of the track, kicked, swept, brushed, try and get the road as clear as possible. Now, there is a little bit of liquid that's come out of one of the cars as well, so slowly the safety car comes downhill, trying to give the marshals as much time to work on that incident zone as possible before the cars next come through, and also hopefully to give them time so that this would be the release lap as well. So the safety car making its way up towards Schwantz Curve now. Alicia Palmowski still in charge, the gap all rather irrelevant, given that it's always going to bunch up, of course, behind the safety car. And this her last opportunity to score a race win this season. We've had Hugo Schwarzer and Risa Siwurathan as our two different race winners. In a way, this would have been a very competitive year, but for Freddie Slater, who was just so dominant. Came and had a run in the championship last year, but always was going to start as the favourite, and was able to mop it up and move on long before the season's end. He's already been racing in British and Italian F4. So the field turning now out of Coppice. That's Hugo Schwarzer, the winner of yesterday's race, the German driver, the elite motorsport driver. Another quick carter before coming into car racing this year. And the lights are still on the safety car, so unless they go out on the loop, we might have to have yet another lap. We're at the halfway point now. The lights are out, so back racing this time. That's the good news. Clark, of course, content now to release the field, to let them go. So this final race of the year for the Ginetta Juniors set to get underway then as the cars now come into Melbourne hairpin. We're going to have, what, 9.5 minutes or so of race action once we go back racing. Reza Siworthan on the tail of Alisha Palmowski now. Palmowski quickens the pace, up towards Goddard's they come. And so the green flag ready on the start line then. The safety car will peel in. We'll go back racing. Mikey Porter in third place. Number 19, the grey and green car, looking menacing as well as we get set to go racing once again. Porter for R Racing on the back of the Elite Motorsport twins. They come through. So it is Palmowski from Siworthan. And the green flag flies to get racing back underway. Chase Fernandez it is who runs fourth, and the silver car of Charlie Hart fifth as they head into Redgate. And Siworthan goes for the tight line coming out of the corner up the curb, leans a little bit on Palmowski. She'll be on the outside for Hollywood, the inside for the first part of the Craner curves. Nosing in front is Reza Siworthan. Palmowski back on the inside line, goes back into the race lead. Siworthan's got the inside line for the old hairpin, commits, goes through. Alisha Palmowski right on his tail, Mikey Porter third, looking to try to gain places as well. So it's four for the race lead, Palmowski, Siworthan, Porter and Fernandez. The cars now go up towards Schwantz curve. Alisha Palmowski yet again having led but being mugged on a restart, and right round the outside goes Charlie Hart. That doesn't really work though, because on the inside line there, Edu Robinson, and he picks up the place, in fact coming out of the corner. So Robinson goes through, gains that place as the cars now turn out of Coppice. Starkey straight, down towards the S's. 8 minutes and change on the clock. Palmowski not letting Siworthan get away, and Mikey Porter right on her tail as well. In fact, almost alongside now on the outside line, down towards the S's. Brake, drop a gear, flick left, flick right. Use the curb to your advantage if you can, but don't hit them so hard that you then bounce off the racetrack. And look how defensive Siworthan has to go. Right to the inside line. The one to the outside, really, number 90, Chase Fernandez. He brakes late, but he's put himself on the longer, slower line. Palmowski gets sideways. Out wide goes Fernandez. Contact there, and the one that came off worse was Mikey Porter. 3 wide almost in the pack. Chase Fernandez then, number 90, up into second place. Brakes late, goes for the lead. Does he? Not quite. So Fernandez second. Third now is Edu Robinson. Sixth at the start of the lap he was, number 51. And Hugo Schwartz, the number 33, struggling at the moment to get through the pack. Leaders over the line then. So Reza Siworthan trying to do what he did in race 2, having hit the front, get away from the rest. Second place is Chase Fernandez. For third up the inside line there goes Edu Robinson. Palmowski, who led the first couple of laps, down in fourth, but fighting back. Good exit from Redgate then. Gets up the inside as they drop down through the Craner curves now. Into the old hairpin they come through the right-hander. Rattling over the curb is Palmowski. Edu Robinson then drops that place back down into fourth. Fastest lap of the race is Hugo Schwartz, who is still pushing on relentlessly behind, but he's finding it tougher to get through the traffic. Mikey Porter to the inside line now, number 19, and he goes by. So Porter through. An MP, as it says on the back of the car. Mikey Porter in the R Racing entry, up 1 spot. He came into the weekend pitching for second place in the championship against Schwarzer. That disappeared earlier on in the day, but here he'd like to round out the weekend on the podium. Now, we haven't yet had any, but just a word of warning, previous races this weekend have been rather affected by track limit penalties. So now that we're getting into what we hope is going to be a green flag run to the end, I just wonder whether as people take more and more liberties, that might become a thing. Very, very wide goes what's left there of Henry Jocelyn's car, the lightweight model. The leaders are together, so Siworthan is not getting away here from Chase Fernandez. Chase doing exactly that, catching up to the leader. Alisha Palmowski in third place, trying to go with them as well as they make the climb out of the Melbourne hairpin now. Out of the hairpin at Goddard's, onto the pit straight, drop down slightly, and that run towards Redgate. That's Schwarzer, runner-up in the championship this season with only a couple of race wins, but massively consistent on points. And as Chase Fernandez has now done the fastest lap of the race, he is but 0.337 of a second behind the race leader. Nose to tail now, diving into Redgate. Onto the top of the Craner curves they go. And as the cars now break through Hollywood and plunge towards the old hairpin. Third place, Alicia Palmowski not being able to stay with the leaders. So at the moment, Fernandez sitting on the back of Siwurathan, but doesn't necessarily want to yet start to make too many vigorous advances for the race lead for fear of being delayed because of a defensive Siwurathan and then being caught by Palmowski. Having said that, he's gone wide at the old hairpin, dropped a length or two, and it means that it's advantage Siwurathan once more. Under braking, closing right up then is Chase Fernandez, so he's brought back the lost time. That's the recovering Luca Hopkinson, number 48. He ended up in the gravel in yesterday's race and battled card around out the weekend, but he has just at least moved through on the inside of Nick Ellis, another of the elite motorsport drivers. So the leading quartet down towards the S's. 4 more minutes remain. Fernandez, fastest man on the circuit last time around, still chasing from that second place. They rattle over the curb there. You can see just how much of the extra part of the circuit, if you like, the furniture is being used. Curbs, runoff area. These drivers absolutely on the ragged edge and getting everything out of these cars. It's why it always has delivered such good racing. It's been a really lively championship ever since the G40s were introduced. Big grids. For many years it was part of the touring car support package, now supporting British GT, of course, and a big dive on the inside from Chase Fernandez puts him alongside Rita Siwurathan coming out of Goddard's, over the line with 3.5 minutes on the clock, but he can't get through there, so he goes back into the draft. Rather than sitting alongside, gets back into the slipstream as they drop towards Redgate. Palmowski back with them this time. Fernandez does have a go on the inside, but again, it was a bit too little too late. Couldn't make the pass, and now the cars head down the hill once again. So the leading quartet, Siwurathan, Fernandez, Palmowski, Porter, that's the order. Last time around, possibly with a tow, Alicia Palmowski got the fastest lap of the race in the yellow car there, and he's all over the back of Chase Fernandez now, like a rash. What can she do? Well, she's trying to attack and also defend from a curb-hopping Mikey Porter. Siwurathan can't get away as he's almost being shoveled along by Chase Fernandez now, heading up towards McLean's. Fernandez on the inside, Porter on the outside line. Palmowski looking to get past, but is in danger of losing a place because Porter's driven all the way around the outside of McLean's. That was a good move and hangs on to it. Now comes up to challenge Chase Fernandez out of the double right of Coppice. Palmowski, though, back up on the inside of Mikey Porter. 1 lap to run at the end of this, looking at the clock, and it's still anybody's race. In the background, look, Hugo Schwarzer has come up into 7th place. Porter passing Palmowski, so that shuttles her down the order. And a mistake from Siwurathan. Too much speed into the S's, ran out wide, and Chase Fernandez for E3 Sport up the inside now. The Jim Edwards team, through he goes. Siwurathan slots into the draft. Down through the gears, that's Mikey Porter arriving at unabated speed. He gets the lead. That forces Fernandez wide. And look, Charlie Hart up the inside, number 50. 6th at the start of the lap, and he could lead by the end of it. Mikey Porter it is that hits the front. He might have hit a few other things on the way. Here comes Chase Fernandez then. He does a full send up the inside line, and Fernandez it is that takes the advantage now. Porter drops to 2nd. Siwurathan is 3rd. And on to the last lap they now go. Less than a lap time is left in the race, and it's still anybody's. Schwarzer, number 33, coming back at Hart. Out of all of that, Alicia Palmowski has been the real loser, falling back into 7th place. Fernandez leading. This is Siwurathan looking to get across the road. Finds Mikey Porter in his way, rattles over the curb on the inside, hooks 4th gear now, going into Hollywood. Chase Fernandez ahead, but can he stay ahead for the entirety of the lap? 2nd again is Siwurathan, and for 3rd place, side by side, Andrew Robinson then goes a little bit deep, number 51. Mikey Porter comes back round the outside of him, and this is Risa Siwurathan's view. So the cars make the climb now up towards the left of Schwantz curve. And pretty much everybody in a gaggle, apart from Palmowski, who runs out wide, gets onto the grass and becomes a passenger. That car going straight across the grass on the inside. She's trying not to spin the car and also not get bogged down. She's back on the road, but out of that battle pack, having led at the start of the race. So 3 unlucky races this weekend, as it is still anybody's race. We're on the last lap, and it is going to be Risa Siwurathan back ahead of Chase Fernandez. In 3rd is Robinson, 4th-ish is Hart, but he's got Porter alongside him. Then it's Schwarzer and Luca Hopkinson, who's had a pit stop, don't forget, in this race. And Chase Fernandez hits the front, coming into the S's. Tremendous race to round out the season. Schwarzer goes widest there and bounces over the curb. Charlie Hart in 50 gets the run on Mikey Porter down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Reza Siwarathan comes up to have a go at Fernandez. Now he goes to the outside line. Chase Fernandez leads, 2 corners to go. Runs a little bit wide. Siwarathan back up alongside, but that's going to be the outside line for the next and final corner, which is Goddard's. Chase Fernandez leads into the last corner of the season. To the outside line goes Siwarathan, a lock up there, look from Edu Robinson. The checkered flag awaits, and it looks as though Chase Fernandez is going to score a 4th win of the year. He heads up towards the line, and it is a win, and a great race win too for Chase Fernandez. He wins it from Reza Siwarathan, 3rd across the line, Edu Robinson. 4th goes to Mikey Porter ahead of Hugo Schwarzer. Charlie Hart in 6th. That, Ginetta Junior Racing at its best. Fantastic action. Very, very little drama other than the incident at the Melbourne hairpin, but proper hard racing. And on that race, not a single track limit warning, penalty, nothing. So great stuff. And Ginetta Junior Racing continues to deliver the goods, doesn't it? It always has, always will, one hopes. Chase Fernandez, the race winner, by 0.285 of a second. So Chase Fernandez rounds out the season on a high and makes his way on this in-lap up towards the McLean's Corner right-hander. Race 3 of the weekend rounds out the Ginetta Junior season. Chase Fernandez wins from Reza Siwarathan, Edu Robinson 3rd. Mikey Porter 4th ahead of championship runner-up Hugo Schwarzer. Charlie Hart taking 6th ahead of Luca Hopkinson. Then Alicia Palmowski, who led early on, ahead of Nick Ellis and Holly Mile. Henry Jocelyn's battered car 11th from Bria Anglis and Alfie Davis. Tom Ingram Hill 14th ahead of Jack Robinson. And then Harry Moss, we lost Felix Livesey and we lost Thomas Bragg as well, both with damage. So for Chase Fernandez, win number 4 of the season. And the E3 Sport team, Jim Edwards Jr. and Senior, and Jade Edwards making the team a great result. They've been one of the leading lights of Ginetta Racing of late. And Chase Fernandez for E3 Sport taking the race win from the 3R racing cars of Reza Siwarathan, Edu Robinson and Mikey Porter. Lot to cram into the highlights. Let's remind ourselves of some of it. Good getaway by Reza Siwarathan, but Alicia Palmowski again making a really good start. And on the grass, Chase Fernandez, who was able ultimately to come through as the race winner, but an awful lot happens between turn 1 and the final corner. Palmowski ahead of Siwarathan, Hugo Schwarzer in 3rd, and then he found himself in strife at the end of the run towards Coppice, and was tagged by Mikey Porter, fired him off the road. He was lucky not to hit anything solid and indeed not to get bogged down in the gravel. Then there was contact. Luca Hopkinson turned around, hit by Livesey, hit by Spragg, hit by Jocelyn, hit by the car of Harry Moss as well. And on the restart after the safety car, Alicia Palmowski just nosing back ahead. But the very brave Reza Siwarathan stood his ground on the inside and went through, going down into the old hairpin. More drama coming out of the Melbourne hairpin on that lap, but Siwarathan was in front when it mattered at Goddard's. Chase Fernandez, though, was working his way up the order and took 2nd place with Edu Robinson in 3rd. Siwarathan on the tail as Mikey Porter made a big dive on the inside, and that shuffled the pack yet again. Fernandez down in 1st gear, trying to recover. Siwarathan likewise, fending them off left and right, but in the end he got forced back in the pack. Chase Fernandez came out of the corner still ahead in 2nd spot, and then asserted himself once more into the race lead. Alicia Palmowski had this big lose late race, going across the grass on the inside of McLean's, and ultimately it was Chase Fernandez who came through the race winner to round out not only a frantic race itself, but a great year of racing in the Ginetta Junior Championship. Freddie Slater, a worthy champion. It has been action all the way, and Chase Fernandez, the final victor in 2023.